Is it possible that an album logo, long believed to be born from corporate boardrooms, from the hands of professional designers, from the strategic decisions of giant creative teams, actually began with a simple question posed by an idol long known only for his golden voice and commanding stage presence? That question now lingers in the air, demanding answers, shaking perceptions, and quietly reshaping the way the world views BTS. Because what has been revealed is not merely a behind-the-scenes story, but a creative acknowledgement that has long remained almost unseen. Jungkook, not as a face, not as a symbol, but as the mind behind the logo of BTS's comeback album titled ARIRANG. This news did not arrive with the roar of an official announcement. There was no lengthy press release, no press conference filled with flashing cameras. Instead, it came through something far more intimate, more honest, and precisely because of that, far more surprising, a casual live session on Weverse. A digital space that usually serves as a place for BTS and ARMY to share laughter, light stories, and human moments suddenly transformed into the birthplace of a historic confession. There, without pretense and without excessive dramatization, Jungkook mentioned one thing that instantly made time seem to stop. He helped design the ARIRANG album logo. The sentence sounded simple, almost ordinary, yet it was precisely its simplicity that made it so disruptive. Because when examined more deeply, that confession carried further questions, bigger, sharper, and more uncomfortable for some. Since one has an idol, who is not a graphic design graduate, not an official member of a visual team, had such significant space in shaping the visual identity of a BTS album? And if that is truly the case, what does it mean for all the criticism, speculation, and debate that previously surrounded the ARIRANG logo? It didn't take long for a small clip from the live session to turn into fuel for a global conversation. A fan account on X @DreamJins became the first spark that ignited the fire. With an emotional and shocked post, the account wrote, "OMG, so Jungkook worked on ARIRANG's logo sketches, and the company later developed the idea. Insane." Accompanied by a video clip capturing the moment of the confession. Within hours, the post had been viewed more than 117,000 times, liked by thousands, and shared across various corners of the international fandom. Proof that what Jungkook revealed was no ordinary information, but a fragment of truth that had long been hidden. The video shows the 7 BTS members sitting casually in a room far removed from the glamour of the entertainment industry. No luxurious set, no dramatic lighting. They are dressed casually, varsity jackets, caps, masks, like 7 people simply hanging out and talking. Yet it is precisely in that simple space that the visual identity of the most anticipated album of 2026 was discussed. In front of them lay a tablet, and amid the light conversation appeared a short subtitle that was almost missed. "The logo is out too," a line that seemed playful yet carried historical weight. Jungkook, in his characteristically humble tone, explained the process. There were no grand claims, no ambition to stand out. He simply said, "What if we did it like this? When we were working in the US, I made about 4 sketches and sent it to the company. 4 sketches. 1 sentence." Yet the implications far exceeded those numbers. Because those 4 sketches were not casual doodles, but seeds later developed into the official logo of BTS's comeback album after a long hiatus. This confession was further reinforced when another fan account @DailyJpraise shared the same clip with an equally emotional narrative. Our Jungkook said, "What if we did it like this? He's so talented," they wrote. The reactions that followed seemed to explode uncontrollably. The replies were filled with pride, awe, and undeniably, a sense of relief. For some ARMY, this confession felt like the answer to a long-standing riddle that had never truly been resolved. Before this fact surfaced, the ARIRANG logo had been a hot topic of discussion. Some praised it for its simplicity and cultural significance, while others questioned it and even criticized it. Now, however, the narrative has shifted dramatically. Comments like "bad day" for people who were complaining about the logo began to appear, marking a sharp and emotional change in public sentiment. Criticism that once seemed valid now feels awkward, even to those who had expressed it. Why has Jungkook's confession had such an impact? Because it challenges long-standing stereotypes about K-pop idols. For years, the public, including the media, has often viewed idols as finished products, not as creative architects. They are seen as executors of vision, not creators of it. Yet what was revealed in that live session subtly yet firmly disputes that perception. Jungkook was not trying to prove that he can design. He was showing that he is involved. The ARIRANG album itself is no ordinary project. It marks BTS's comeback after a long hiatus, carrying hopes, pressure, and expectations that are almost impossible to meet. Its title, inspired by a traditional Korean folk song, bears immense cultural weight, as if seeking to encapsulate BTS's journey from local stages to global icons without losing their roots. In such a grand context, the logo is not merely an image. It is a statement, a symbol, an identity. So when it became known that the initial idea for that symbol originated from Jungkook's own thoughts, the questions naturally expanded. Is this merely a creative contribution, or a signal of a shift in roles within BTS itself? Are we witnessing a new phase where the boundaries between idol and creator truly blur? And if so, why did this confession only emerge now, in a relaxed atmosphere, without grand packaging? This story does not close with definitive answers. On the contrary, it opens even more doors of inquiry about how BTS truly works behind the scenes, about the extent of the company's trust in its members, and about Jungkook, not as the golden magne celebrated solely for his stage talent, but as a creative individual bold enough to ask one simple question: what if we did it like this? And precisely for that reason, Jungkook's confession feels far more unsettling than a mere behind-the-scenes story. It does not arrive as a claim of victory, but as a fragment of reality that has long escaped the spotlight. In an industry accustomed to strictly separating who creates and who executes, that small moment in the Weverse live session becomes a narrow crack revealing something much larger. A creative process that is no longer fully centralized behind closed corporate doors, but instead grows from interaction, the courage to speak up, and the personal intuition of its members. When placed within a broader context, Jungkook's admission seems to lock in a crucial phase of BTS's journey. For years, the group has been known for their involvement in songwriting, music production, and artistic concepts. Yet the visual realm, especially album logos, has often been considered the exclusive territory of professional teams. A logo is the first face the public sees, an identity printed on physical albums, displayed across digital platforms, and remembered long after the final track stops playing. The fact that Jungkook contributed the initial idea for such a vital element shifts long-standing assumptions about how creative decisions are made. What is particularly striking is that this admission was not delivered through technical language or complex design terminology. Jungkook did not speak of grids, typography, or visual philosophy in theoretical terms. He expressed his thought process in a way that felt deeply human, almost naive. What if we did it like this? A sentence that sounds like everyday conversation, yet therein lies its power. It reflects curiosity, the courage to propose, and the belief that even the smallest idea deserves consideration. In the academic study of creativity, moments like this are often described as the starting point of innovation, when hierarchy loosens and experimentation is given space. The wave of ARMY reactions flooding social media was more than a fleeting emotional outburst. It reflected the unique relationship between BTS and their fans, a bond built on a sense of involvement and transparency. For many ARMY, learning that Jungkook helped design the ARIRANG logo was not just a reason for pride, but a form of emotional validation. There was a feeling that this album was truly made by BTS, not merely released in the name of BTS. And that feeling, within the context of a global fandom, carries far greater power than any marketing strategy. On the other hand, for those who had previously criticized or questioned the ARIRANG logo, this confession introduced a dilemma of its own. Design criticism could no longer be directed at an abstract entity called the company, but instead, indirectly, at one of the BTS members themselves. This is what caused the dynamics of the conversation to shift so dramatically. What may have begun as an aesthetic discussion now collided with emotional and personal territory. It is hardly surprising that comments such as "bad day" for people who were complaining about the logo emerged as spontaneous reflections of that perceptual shift. Yet beyond all the euphoria, there is another dimension just as compelling to examine. The ARIRANG album is scheduled for release on March 20, 2026, a date that draws ever closer and is saturated with expectation. Its title, taken from a traditional Korean folk song, is no arbitrary choice. ARIRANG is a symbol of journeys, separation, and hope, themes that resonate deeply with BTS's hiatus and the global dynamics they have navigated. In this context, the album logo is not merely a visual element, but the first representation of the larger narrative they wish to convey. Thus, the questions continue to evolve. Do Jungkook's sketches carry a personal nuance into a cultural symbol as significant as ARIRANG? Are those initial ideas connected to BTS's experiences while working in the United States, far from their homeland, yet still contemplating the Korean identity they wanted to bring back into this work? Jungkook did not explain this explicitly, but that very ambiguity opens wide interpretive space for both fans and pop culture observers. From an academic perspective, this phenomenon is compelling because it illustrates a shift in roles within the global entertainment industry. Idols are no longer merely creative objects, but increasingly appear as active subjects. Jungkook, through his brief confession, provides a concrete example of how cross-disciplinary creativity operates in practice. Known as a singer and dancer, his involvement in logo design demonstrates that creativity is not boxed into compartments. It flows from one medium to another, guided by curiosity and individual courage. To this point, the story transforms from simple entertainment news into a deeper reflection on the meaning of creative ownership. When Jungkook sent 4 sketches to the company and the idea was later developed further, the process reflected collaboration, not domination. The company did not take over, and Jungkook did not claim. There was dialogue, there was trust, and there was acknowledgement, even if that acknowledgement surfaced later, informally. With all its surprises and emotions, the story ultimately leaves behind one strong provisional conclusion: the ARIRANG logo is not an anonymous product. It was born from conversation, from the courage to propose, and from Jungkook's active role within BTS's creative process. And if a single logo can spark a discussion of this magnitude, what else might be revealed when the ARIRANG album is officially released? That question hangs unanswered. But one thing is certain: since this confession emerged, the public no longer sees the ARIRANG logo in the same way. And perhaps from that moment on, the way we view Jungkook and BTS as a creative entity will never truly return to what it was before. This shift in perspective is what quietly becomes the core of the entire conversation surrounding ARIRANG. Jungkook is not merely recounting his involvement, he is indirectly lifting the veil on how a global icon operates from within. When a group as large as BTS, with a long history and cross-continental influence, allows space, however small, for individual ideas, what is at stake is not only the final visual outcome, but the philosophy of their collective way of working. From here, the story enters territory that is more sensitive, more reflective, and for some, perhaps more unsettling. For years, BTS has often been praised for their authenticity. Yet authenticity is a word frequently used without ever being fully unpacked. Jungkook's admission about the 4 logo sketches gives that concept a concrete form. Authenticity, in this context, means the presence of the members thinking in every layer of the work, even in aspects that are usually considered technical and far removed from public attention. The ARIRANG logo is no longer a neutral element, it becomes evidence of a member's imprint, if not literally, then conceptually. Here lies a second surprise that is no less compelling. Jungkook did not speak of the design as something sacred or final. He did not say that his sketches were instantly approved without change. On the contrary, he mentioned that the idea was later developed by the company. This choice of words matters. It suggests that the creative process was dialogical, not hierarchical. Jungkook proposed a possibility, the company responded by developing it further, and the final result became shared ownership. In an industry often criticized for its tight control over artists, this narrative feels almost subversive. The emotional reaction from ARMY cannot be separated from the context of BTS's hiatus. After a long pause since their last album, every detail of the comeback is magnified many times over. A logo, something that might once have been a minor footnote, is now treated as a symbol of rebirth. When it became known that Jungkook himself was involved in shaping that symbol, fans' emotional connection intensified dramatically. They are not only waiting for music, they are waiting for a story that has been directly touched by the member they support in Indonesia. This response has been particularly strong. Indonesian Army, known as one of the largest and most active fan bases, quickly flooded timelines with translated quotes, video clips, and personal reflections. The discussion did not stop at "Jungkook is amazing," but expanded into conversations about what creative involvement by idols truly means, and about how BTS continues to safeguard their identity amid an ever-expanding global scale. ARIRANG, as a title deeply rooted in Korean culture, also resonates strongly with Indonesian fans who are familiar with the importance of cultural roots and identity in artistic expression. If taken even further, this confession may also serve as a subtle hint about the direction of the ARIRANG album itself. Not a hint in the sense of leaked tracks or visual concepts, but in the philosophy behind it. If the logo alone was born from a what-if question, there is a strong possibility that the album will carry the same exploratory spirit. A dialogue between past and present, between tradition and experimentation, between the individual and the collective. At this point, the greatest surprise is no longer the fact that Jungkook helped design the logo. The real surprise lies in how small the moment was that sparked such an expansive discussion. A short sentence in a relaxed live session, a brief clip shared by fans, and suddenly a broader narrative about creative power, identity, and authenticity opens wide. It serves as a reminder that in the era of social media, history is not always written through official announcements, but often born from simple conversations that are captured, shared, and collectively interpreted. And when the ARIRANG album is finally released on March 20, 2026, that logo will once again appear before the public on screens, on album covers, on merchandise. This time, however, it will no longer be silent. It carries a story of 4 sketches, of a Jungkook brave enough to propose an idea, and of a group willing to listen. For ARMY, that story may always be visible each time their eyes rest on that small symbol called ARIRANG.